involved. Let's go to the practicing guitarist. Lee John, Shilt's decision to start Dylan Cease in Game 4 was ill-advised. His 2 prior starts against LA were terrible. The decision will cost the Padres the series. No way this team wins Game 5 in LA.
Only thing I can react to you, practicing guitarist, that Dodger win, the 8-0 win, only counts as 1 game. And you got Yu Darvish starting. I would like to hear from a Dodger fan. Don't throw anything at the computer screen. I just want a Dodger fan to tell me who you start on Friday night. Do you go with a combination of Yamamoto, and Jack Flaherty? Or do you make it another bullpen day because the Padres have not hit against those 8 guys who threw in this playoff series in last night's game? I think it was a major decision. And Shildt has hit every hot button for the most part correctly. I just don't understand why you would shortchange Dylan Cease. His heart was in it. But like I said, he threw 82 pitches in his last start and got knocked out into the 4th inning. And they pulled him last night an inning and 2/3 in, and he didn't look right. He didn't look right the last start either. His mechanics look flawed, etc. So I'm not going to condemn Mike Shildt. I just think it was a bad decision when you had somebody else there, or you could have flipped that game. If Perez didn't do well, you could have flipped that into a bullpen game because you got strength in numbers, and then you'd have a fully rested Cease and a fully rested Darvish to make a choice to start the second round. So I think it was a mistake. John, do you think it's fatal?
No. I mean, the Padres are still in this thing. I think they can win on Friday night. But imagine if Shildt had started Perez. I mean, if it didn't go well, people would be second guessing him. What the hell? Why are you bringing in this guy as like a number 6, number 7 starter when you have a dude that threw a no-hitter earlier this year? So Shildt couldn't win on either case. But you know what I want to comment on is I really appreciated John Smoltz talking about how difficult it is to come back one day early. And he said how the velocity will be there, but the location and the command won't necessarily be there. And that's exactly what we saw from Dylan Cease.
Exactly. And that's what we saw the prior start from Dylan Cease when he threw 82 pitches in 3+ innings and I had to go take him off the mound. Smoltz is brilliant, but then he's an intellect. He tells you more about pitching than just statistics. He tells you the rationale. He tells you about the psyche. He tells you about the physical wear and tear. I think he was the best in the business. John, next one. Go ahead on Fans Forum.
Okay, let's go to David. The Dodgers have been doing a bullpen game all season long. They had 17 different pitchers start a game in 2023 and 2024 seasons. Padres got schooled Wednesday by a superior all-around team.
But the Padres are a complete team. And please, with excuses, move to the side. That Dodger win only counts as 1 win. There was a game to be played on Friday and at Dodger Stadium in front of 53,000 Looney Tune LA fans. But the Padres don't get bullied. Padres are not scared of the Dodgers. Padres just have to produce. But it is odd to me that the collection of 8 pitchers who did the bullpen game against the Padres last night in the 4-game series, Padres are hitting 165 against those 8 guys. So now the question for Dave Roberts and the analytics guys at Dodger Stadium, do you go back to those 8 guys in a bullpen day? Because none of them had stressful innings. There was nobody out there throwing 33 pitches in 1 inning. They buzzed through that batting order. So do you go to Yamamoto and Flaherty as the backup, or do you go bullpen day again? That's a tough call. John, if you could pick up the phone, I gave you Dave Roberts' cell phone number, what would you call and advise him?
You know, like I said earlier, I think you start Yamamoto and you see how far he goes. You have a short leash. Maybe your expectation is only a couple of innings out of Yamamoto, and that might work. But, you know, I'm curious to find out when they go back to Chavez Ravine, do you think the fans are going to be a little more well-behaved?
I think the Dodgers are going to mandate it. But then again, you never know how much you're drinking before you go to the game, John. So I don't know how you're going to act sitting out in the right field pavilion with all those other fans. But I think they'll be toned down. You know, now the question is, Profar, Tatis, they can be jumping up and down, dancing like a peacock. How's Machado going to respond? You know, I'm just blown away by the fact that Ken Rosenthal would write that at this point when those two guys, I mean, the ones he's referencing, actually all three, are the reason this team has done so well. You know, to pull out all the stuff about Manny being Manny back in Baltimore. Obviously, I'm not Johnny Hustle when he was with the Dodgers, and the guy that acted like a punk when he first got to San Diego. For him to dredge up all that stuff at this point makes no sense at all, because the freaking Padres, second best road record in baseball. Padres, look at what they've accomplished at home. None of that is relevant to the series. That just boggles my mind.
That was a really weak take by Rosenthal. And, you know, a lot of these national media guys, they always kind of glom on to the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox. And the Padres are the more interesting team, the more interesting story, the more interesting history on all of this. So I know, I just thought that was a bunch of BS, but it's going to be great. Game 5, man, I'm going to be fired up and ready to go. I saw someone post on Twitter today that Game 5 on Friday will either be one of the best or one of the worst days in Padre history.
Well, the sun can shine or it could rain. John, it could be one or the other, or it could be both. Roger David, thank you for joining us on Fans Forum. Next topic.
Okay, let's go to Greg. Lee, what is the NFL thinking? Scheduling the Seahawks with 3 games over 13 days? They played last Monday night, then the following Sunday, and now tonight? Not a great way to promote player safety.
Well, everybody kind of gets caught in that quandary, because if you're into a Thursday night thing, you're going to get some rest on the back end of the Thursday night game, but you'll have to play some extra games, and travel's got something to do with it. There's no perfect solution to the scheduling around the National Football League. I mean, there's some teams that play 3 straight road games. You say, why the hell's that happen? And that's really hard. And you got, teams that play 5 of their first 7 on the road. I mean, how fair or unfair is that? I would tend to think there's got to be a better way to balance a schedule to make it fair as much as you can for everybody. But yeah, Seahawks have the same scenario that other teams have had in recent years too. And this whole Thursday night scheduling thing is part of that trigger point.
Yeah, and then the Seahawks have to travel probably a lot more than most NFL teams. So, but they'll never get the schedule just right, because I mean that's really hard. I mean, I remember like 10 years ago, I had to create a schedule for our Little League here in Poway. That is difficult to do, and they have like software programs that'll help you kind of figure it all out. But with stadiums and Taylor Swift concerts and everything else, that's a challenge. But I don't know. For me, I like Thursday night football. I mean, we got Monday night, Thursday night. I mean, bring it on. It's all good.
Yeah. And then you add in the equation trips abroad, or they're going to Mexico City, or London, or they're going to Spain. And, the NFL is growing the international venues at the same time. Greg, thank you for the question. John, next one.
Okay, let's go to Michael. Lee, with Ohio State visiting Oregon this weekend, do you believe that they have enough to leave with a win?
Pretty good defense. Very physical offensive line. Will Howard is a quarterback that's not a sexy name in terms of being a star, but that guy was a starter and rewrote the record book at Kansas State, and he's just been very, what's the word I'm looking for, efficient. Does not turn the ball over, throws touchdown passes. He runs the Buckeye defense, or runs the Buckeye offense. I think Ohio State's going to come in and try to play power ball. I think they're going to try to keep Dylan Gabriel off the field. And again, talking about the Oregon situation, now they lost so many players off last year's team, in addition to Bo Nix, that they just don't seem to be the same offense in terms of pizzazz and explosiveness. That, or maybe they're laying in the weeds, and maybe we're going to see some stuff that Dylan Gabriel has not displayed so far in this game against the Buckeyes. But I interact with a couple of media guys in the Pacific Northwest, and they're going crazy. And we've seen so many upsets in the last 3 weeks of the college football season that one of the big boys is going to lose. We saw what Bama did to Georgia. Holy cow. Then we saw what happened last week, and the polls got turned upside down, and they could all get turned upside down again, because we got 3 marquee games on this weekend schedule. John?
So I'll bet you, man, the Oregon fans are showing up at Autzen Stadium. It's going to be just a great vibe. And I love this idea of these Big Ten teams coming to the West Coast, and they're the ones that have to do all the traveling. This is going to be a great game. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, I watched him a lot at Oklahoma. he's a dynamic quarterback, but he's not an explosive quarterback. So hopefully he's got a lot of guys running around, on his side of the squad that can make plays. The other thing about Oregon that I always enjoy is to figure out what uniform they're going to wear. So that's always a fun part of this. What's your take on the Ohio State coach? Wasn't he in a little bit of trouble or a little bit of jeopardy in losing his gig?
Well, Ryan Day, there's a big issue here of Harbaugh kicked your ass. You got a problem. But he's still there. And they are Ohio State. And they go get all the recruits they want. And they do some very good stuff within the transfer portal. And people, I think, have given him a little bit more space. There was a lot of consternation about his play calling, because of what happened against the school up north, as Woody Hayes used to refer to Michigan in the Bo Schembechler days, and the fact that Harbaugh had their number. But he's got a pretty good team. So no, I don't think Ryan Day's in any real jeopardy. And Michigan's not Michigan right now, not at least as it was under the Harbaugh era. So the Buckeyes, they win that game, and the world is beautiful. Next question, John.
Next question. All right, let's go to Chris. Saw and the left fielder. Please explain what qualifications Antonio Pierce has to be head coach. Other than screaming Raiders and after their rare wins, the guy brings nothing to the table. He's a teenager on social media and has basically been banned for a decade in college football. Great bleeping hire. P.S. Cease's enormous mustache is now actively working against him.
Well, Antonio Pierce was a really good linebacker. Giants, New England, intellect, fireball personality. Came in and tried to rally the team in the chaos that Mark Davis had allowed to happen with all the mishirings of head coaches. Players liked him. But at the end of the day, they've never solved the quarterback issue. That's item one. They let Josh Jacobs go. That's item two. Now they got an unhappy Devontae Adams. That's item three. Their offensive line is banged up. Now they've lost Christian Wilkins. He's gone. He's just had the surgery on his knee. He's going to be out for maybe 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Max Crosby's playing on a lame knee. They lost 2 defensive ends on the other side of Max Crosby. I mean, they're just a mess. And they're a mess at quarterback. So they sat Gardner Minshew down. Aiden O'Connell is better. Doesn't make as many mistakes, but they don't score a lot of touchdowns with even him as quarterback. And I don't know if they're going to be able to protect him. So they're just a disaster. And there's no doubt that Antonio Pierce is always doing this all the time. Yappy, yappy, yap. And he's on social media, and he's got all kinds of problems. And by the way, the general manager is stoic. He's an Ivy League type guy. This guy, the coach, he's a street guy. And yeah, he's the one that got Arizona State in trouble with all the NCAA violations, just got suspended for 8 years, all-time record NCAA sanction against a coach. So I don't know. If they don't turn the corner, Mark Davis has to eat the contract. What Mark Davis needs to do is stop making bad decisions, let that new general manager who came from the Chargers fix this thing. But you can't fix it overnight because they still don't have legitimacy at quarterback. And now they got a black hole in the black hole at running back, and you might have a black hole at wide receiver because Devontae Adams wants out. So his story's not done. But boy, there's a lot of trouble spots, a lot of places, John.
Yeah, it's funny. When Antonio Pierce was there, he had that interim tag for a while, but the players really rallied to bring him on board as permanent. But did the Raiders consider any other alternatives for head coach?
No, and a lot of people of the opinion they should not have even hired Pierce. They should have just stayed with the special teams coordinator who had been the last interim head coach, and the players responded to. Rich Biasuccia, but he didn't have a lot of experience, and so they went a different direction. Now Antonio Pierce is the guy, and if they don't fix this, I don't think Antonio Pierce survives. And I don't care what the Raider Nation has to say. Your record is what your record is, and they got 2 winning seasons in the last 21 years. I'm not trying to pile on Raider fan. I'm just telling you the terminology I use, silver and bleak, fits perfectly.
That's brutal. 2 winning seasons in this century?
21 years.
That's insane. I mean, unbelievable. Let's keep moving here. Let's go to Javi. And he says, Hacksaw, You said all these negatives about the Dodgers and how the Padres looked amazing, and they got blown out. Be ready for a rough Friday.
Javi, last I checked, the Padre win at Dodger Stadium, guys jumping up and down, the peacock doing his dance, that only counted as one win. Dodger win, Petco Park, last I checked, that only counts as one win. Game 5, Friday, baby. We'll just see where it goes. It's great for the rivalry. It's great for history. I think the aura of Dodger Padre baseball is now permanently changed because of what this franchise in San Diego has become. I take nothing away from the great accomplishments of Dodger baseball. I mean, from the O'Malley era to the Mark Walter group led by Friedman, that's a tremendous track record of success. And yet, I know you could yell, big market, $290 million payroll, they draw $4 million, etc. You still got to develop them. And for them to still be playing with the trauma, with the pitching staff, and that mess with all the surgeries. But at the end of the day, that Padre win with the jumping jack, Jurickson Profar in left field only counted as one win. And last night's bomb job only counted as one win for the Dodgers. Bring on Game 5.
Bring it on. It's funny. Profar almost caught the identical home run ball from Betts. But it's funny is on Instagram, the video that you did, it's titled Head Games. It's got a picture of Machado and Dave Roberts. You should have seen the reaction. And there's like hundreds of comments. There's over 30,000 views on that video. And after Game 3, Dodger fan was like, season's over. Let's wrap it up. Dave Roberts can't win in the playoffs. Then they win 8-0. And now suddenly Dodger fan thinks they're going to win Game 5 and keep on moving. So emotionally, it's a roller coaster. We're up, we're down, we're sideways.
Here's a wild card thought. The World Series winner might come out of this series. Because if you look at what's happened every place else, the Phillies are gone. And last week, I swore to you that somebody was going to have to go through Citizens Bank Ballpark to get to the World Series, and they're gone. I don't think the Mets scare the hell out of a lot of people, but the Mets are playing really well right now. And on the other side of the street, Cleveland's in big jeopardy, and the Yankees don't appear to be the Yankees. John, the World Series winner might come out of Game 5 on Friday night. It might be the winner of the Padres Dodgers series is the one that's going to wind up with a ring when all is said and done. I mean, that's what Swami says looking into my crystal ball that could happen. And Riley says?
Swami. Makes me think of Chris Berman or Johnny Carson. So, if the Padres are victorious on Friday, they're going to have home field advantage for the NLCS. And they could, imagine if the Yankees or the Guardians got knocked off. The Padres, dream scenario, stars aligned, they could have home field advantage for the World Series too. So the unpredictability in the playoffs is just so fun and exciting. This is the best time of the year.
We move on. Next one, Fans Forum. Go ahead.
Let's go to Callan. Hey, Lee, would you consider a tweak to the MLB playoff format if the top seeds continue to flame out in the divisional series? I've pondered a 7-team bracket for each league or an 8-team bracket. Thoughts?
Well, everybody talks about what if. Hey, you got something that works right now. Now, granted, they fine-tuned. The wild card used to be best of 1. Everybody thought that was really unfair, so they made it best of 3. And then there was a lot of beef. And while the best teams are sitting there idle for 4 days, I don't think they're idle. I think they take a deep breath and get their guys healthy, especially their pitching staff. But I don't want to see the whole world in the playoffs because I don't want to see mismatches. I want to see the best. That's why you grind through 162 games. So, there's also been talk, maybe we should reseed. Well, I don't know if you want to do that either. Just leave it the way it is. Enjoy the baseball because this has been special.
Yeah, this is great. The whole thing is fantastic. If they hypothetically expanded it, a little bit more so there were no buys in the first round, so what would that be? 8 teams on each side? That'd be fine. If the way it's now, that's good too. It's better than when it used to only, be just the 2 championship series or even just the 1 wild card. So I love it. The more that we can get going, it's great. But the problem is that you don't want to let these series drift into November. You got to get business wrapped up before Halloween.
Yeah, and you got baseball in some cold weather cities. You don't want snow flurries. They don't want no outs. That's the risk you get. My alternative would be, let's cut the regular season from 162 down to 154 because the wear and tear factors on players, notably pitchers, is so extreme. But you got owners. You think owner wants to give up any home games at all with the volume of money they're making on gate receipts and TV contracts? I don't think we're ever going to go from 162 down to back to 154, which means you could start the playoffs a little bit earlier. You surely don't want to be playing playoff games in Chicago or Boston in late October. Hell, it's 33 degrees outside my window here at my cottage in the Adirondacks, and I don't have many fans. Well, maybe fans will get liquored up. They could sit for 9 innings in this type of cold weather, but you don't want that in Chicago or Boston or some of these other cold weather places. Next one, fans forum.
Next one. Okay, let's go here. Talking about 162 game season. Let's go to Di. He said, they say 162 regular doesn't mean anything. Then why have it? Just have a postseason.
Well, 162 is all about gate receipts, TV contracts. The more you play, the more on TV, you're televising more of my games, I get paid. So that's why it's 162. Union can carry some clout into this. I mean, I walked in that clubhouse. I've seen those guys at game 140, 150. I mean, they are on their knees and they're so beat up. It is such a grind. And with the pitching injury situation, it's really, really severe. So baseball should look at it. I think there has been discussion, but not made any move at all to change any of that structure of postseason play except add on. And I don't want to invite everybody to the postseason party because I think it waters down everything you're trying to do in terms of quality.
Yeah. I mean, you got to maintain some quality. But I mean, it's funny that Di brings up an idea of just scrapping the regular season and just having a tournament. So you can't do it all. You can't have the long season, make all the money, all the revenue, all the games, and then still have a season that makes sense and a playoffs that are expanded. Something's got to give here. Back to a 154 would be fine. I just think that when I was a kid and these guys were like, feeling tired playing ball. And I'm like, how in the hell can you be tired? You're in your 20s. You're playing the greatest game on earth that everyone else would give their left arm to play. And you want to sit because you got a tweaked ankle? Get out there. Hey, speaking of tweaked ankles, is Freddie Freeman going to play on Friday?
No decision yet. I mean, he's under intense round-the-clock therapy. The fact that he's dinged this thing twice really worries him. But they've got multiple guys, multiple positions, and they'll just make this determination, I am sure, after he goes through pregame batting practice as to whether to go. If you're asking me, he's such a warrior. I think he'll come back out and he'll give it a go on Friday night.
Well, check out this take here from 4RXLA. He says, the LA clubhouse has turned on Roberts. It was visible when Ohtani got 50-50 in Miami and when they clinched. And Bueller. Robert talks, but players don't listen.
Well, I think sometimes guys are real competitive. I'm a big believer in body language. And when you looked at that playoff game, Michael King versus Bueller, both those guys are so stressed out. And Bueller was so pissed about what happened when the Dodgers twice failed to turn double play balls. And that I saw a clip, and I don't know if it was on TV very much. I saw a clip of him throwing that tantrum in the dugout. I mean, he was screaming at guys and he was throwing equipment all over the place. And then Mark Pryor settled him down. Maybe that's what he needed because he came back out with fire in his belly and he pitched really, really well. And then at the end, in his final inning, when it looked like he was starting to give ground, the Padres, I think, had 2 guys on, and Dave Roberts walked out of the dugout. And that manager does not come out unless you're going to pull him. And I kind of lip read, and I think Bueller made some comment to the statement, get the F off my mound, I'm finishing this. And he did, and he got out with no more runs scored. So, Bueller's tantrum fueled Bueller, sent a different message, because the Dodgers really played defensively on the edge in that 8-0 win on Wednesday night. Guys need things to, hit their hot button, and Bueller, watching his defense play crap, he just lit into them and it kind of fired him up. And he's such a fierce guy. And I'll tell you what, after that bad inning that he had, that was vintage Walker Bueller. He has not been able to bottle that on a start-by-start basis, but that was pretty impressive.
Imagine having a rough day on the job in the office and then picking up trash cans and throwing them around. I mean, baseball is like one of the few sports or few jobs you can get away with that. But is the team turning on Roberts? I mean, obviously Roberts was pushing all the right buttons in Game 4. I mean, that seemed to be working pretty well. But I don't know, Bueller. I had great respect for him originally before he got hurt. I mean, because he was so dynamic. That fastball had like a sixth gear that it would kick in with all that spin. He's not the same as he used to be, but he did get screwed in that inning. Speaking of which, Miguel Rojas, is he going to play, or is he hurt now?
He's got something tantamount to a groin injury, and his mobility is just not the same. And he screwed up what should have been a double play ball. They should have been out of that inning, and instead, Lux screwed up, Rojas screwed up, and next thing you know, Bueller's given up all these runs, and it was just a bad situation. By the way, we never touched on this, and I should have touched on this in the opening segment about the Padres. You mean to tell me with six umpires, you mean to tell me with the Dodgers watching this, or Freddie Freeman observing this, Machado ran out of the baseline, got hit with a ball that, turned into a big rally? Nobody saw that? I didn't see it till later in the evening, and I said, how is he not called out? He ran out of the baselines, and none of the umpires huddled. That's kind of weird. Did you see that, or were you just too busy waving a Padre pom-pom?
Well, no, when that happened, I saw him, kind of make a left turn there and go into the infield grass. And all I kept thinking was Manny Machado has got baseball IQ, up through the roof. That was a great play. And even Freddie Freeman said he would have done the same thing. And how Machado, apparently Buck Showalter has been teaching him. And even Rob Macias for the Padres teaches that in spring training. So I thought it was a great play. But the play that the umpires clearly blew wasn't in that series. It was the Phillies Mets. I think Alec Boehm had a ball that went right over the first base bag, and they called it foul. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't.
So, you figure, like, to your point, there's 6 umpires on there. You think they could get it right. And it is interesting in the play where the ball, hit the umpire that Machado retrieved and was able to throw it. Sometimes the umpire is in play and sometimes they're not in play. And I'm not sure if I fully understand those rules.
I thought if it hit the umpire, dead ball. But because it ricocheted off Machado, live baseball. So it hit the umpire. Manny picked it up. He made a hell of a throw off balance. I thought he was going to throw it down the right field line. Hell of a play. All right, John, let's go from that. Let's go to social media. I'm sure we got some people who have written us with some opinions.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So let's go to social media here and let's talk a little bit about the Rams. And this is from Tony. He says, their season is over. Look, I don't care, but they beat the 49ers.
Well, they did. But at the end of the day, it's a 17-game schedule. And this is the worst start that Sean McVay has ever had, sitting there at 1-4. And there's no way out of the situation. He's got all these offensive linemen hurt. He still does not have Cooper Kupp. He does not have Nakua. He does not have his tight end, Tyler Higbee. And Matthew Stafford's starting to take a lot of shots, starting to take a lot of hits. So the next question is there a hit coming that's going to put him on the ground permanently? Because he's courageous. He's a great, great leader. It's just tough. You can control a lot of things. You control the salary cap. You can control roster cuts. You can control what you're calling, but you can't control injuries. And they never got out of preseason camp healthy. So I think it's going to turn out to be a bad season. I just don't want to see Stafford get hurt because he is a warrior. He'll stand in there, he'll make plays, and have to pay a physical price. And he's starting to get too many hits.
I'm always just amazed at Sean McVay because he's so young. I mean, he's still in his 30s, isn't he?
Yes.
I mean, that's remarkable to me. But another team in the NFC West, the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, they beat the Niners. I mean, do you think they're on the come?
I think they are, and they're about to get one of their other wide receivers back to join Marvin Harrison and James Conner and Kyler Murray. But, as hot as they were a couple weeks ago, they didn't play real well this past week, and they got beat. So I'm not quite sure where they are as a complete football team. But Kyler Murray, with skilled people around him, he does make things happen. Okay, let's go to the next question.
Next question. Okay, let's go here. More Dodgers, Padres. And this is from Paul Taylor Law. You know how to market with controversy. I like it. Friday will be rebuke or redemption for Dodger fans. Ha ha.
Well, Dodger fan, got to show me better deportment than you showed me. Now, Dodger fan will also email me through my website and say, hey, Profar is the one that instigated all this with the jumping jack thing. And Tatis doing his dance in the outfield and making an obscene gesture towards Dodger fan. They both got to concentrate, play baseball, and stay classy. But I'll tell you what, the managers diffused the whole thing. The whole Manny Machado throwing the ball towards the dugout. That Dave Roberts did a good job diffusing that. Shildt diffused it. Got to get back to baseball. And Jack Flaherty did not throw at Tatis. He was all over the strike zone and his stuff is wicked. He did plunk him, but I don't think it was intentional. I mean, you're in a close playoff game. You're not going to throw at Tatis. You might throw at Tatis in the 8th inning if you're getting beat 8-0, but why would you ever do that? Because now you create a mess for the next game. And for Machado to say, hey, we're not throwing at Ohtani, why are you throwing at my guy? So, but that's gone. It's good for the rivalry, but it's gone.
It's funny is there's a lot of people on social media that'll say, oh, from that video, the head games video, they said, oh, that's going to trigger some Dodger fans, So it's like you're like a sports talk pro. You know how to like kind of, stir the pot and get people commenting on different things. It's going to be a great game 5. I cannot wait.
Okay, move on. A couple more social media smacks.
Smack. Okay, here, let's go to say, what does it say? Seahawks Diner. Hey, Hacksaw, admire what the home team Padres is doing, but move on from the Dodgers. Let it go. Please stop reminding your fans of what might have been.
Moving on from the Chargers. But there's a lot of NFL fans who follow us. And I cover the NFL like I cover Major League Baseball. John, you put that slide up there of the babe. And we got so many responses from that. My short commentary on that. I think a lot of people thought that might have been porn, and that's why they're hitting the red button there. But hey, you got to cover the NFL. I mean, NFL is where it's at in terms of TV viewership, etc. And we do have a lot of followers who like the NFL and follow the Chargers, and some love them and love Herbert, and a lot of them hate Spanos. And we're just going to continue to cover the storylines like we cover everybody else, including the firing of the Jets coach and what might happen with Jerry Jones in Dallas and all teams. That's what we got to do.
It's funny how people blur the lines with you. Are you a Charger fan? Are you a journalist? I mean, imagine if somebody on the NFL Today on CBS said, I'm not covering the Chargers anymore because they moved. I mean, that would be ridiculous. So you're still covering them. So that's good. I mean, because they're a Southern California team. We cover them. But that particular point you made in the video was right on target. Dean Spanos screwed up leaving this community because there's clearly a passionate sports fan base that would be there for the Chargers if they're winning.
Well, that's what I said. My first reaction after the triple play by Machado against who? The Dodgers. End result, playoffs. And by the way, it was a triple play. And you see the community go crazy. And so that was the first thought after all the joy about what the Padres just accomplished against that rival. My first thought after, Spanos turned his back on this because the Chargers own the community emotionally. And he turned his back on this to go be on the periphery in Los Angeles where nobody's paying any attention. And are there Charger fans? Sure, there's Charger fans up there. Charger fans down here? Sure. Now, a lot of them might be hate watching rather than watching for success. So it's absolutely amazing. Next one.
Well, I just want to get this comment here. It just came in at the very end from the O-Siders. He goes, this is the reason why I listen to this and not 97.3. Thanks for covering the Chargers still.
Bingo. We do sports talk the way it should be done. And now it's on a podcast that you can see on live stream. And it's on a podcast that is up there forever. You can always go back. You can't be with us because you're at work. Hey, quit the freaking job, so watch this thing live. But you can't be with us at work. When you get home, you can punch it up at 5 p.m. or at 10 p.m. or the next day because it's always going to be there.
Check this one out. This is from Angel. Amen, Hacksaw. We don't want guy talk or stuff about the parlay and over under. We want sports talk radio the way it should be.
It is, and that's why we do it, and that's why it's been a success. And I'm still trying to convince John, once we have our Hacksaw Insiders group meet together at a bar, John's going to buy everybody a shot of bourbon.
I'll definitely do that. Yeah, I mean, as long as you're going, down at firefighter, as long as you're doing it too.
Okay, one more.
One more. Okay, let's talk about Dave Roberts. Just a little bit of a long one from Dave Ferry. Respectfully, he is overrated. 2016 choked against the Cubs, 2017 asterisks, but consistently going to Blanton in the World Series and taking Alex Wood out early. 2018 was just pure dominance by the Red Sox. 2019, we got embarrassed by the Nationals, and Roberts left in an already tired Kershaw out for back-to-back bombs. Then brought in Wild Joe Kelly, who gave up a grand slam. 2020 is the only ring, and he almost choked. 2021 was his only excusable season with a tired roster going against the juggernaut Braves. 2022 was even more embarrassing by the Padres. 2023 against the D-backs sweeping us. Dave Roberts.
That's history. That really is. And the facts are the facts. He checked off all the boxes about all the mistakes that Dave Roberts has made. And I really thought, John, in my heart, that had they lost last night, had they gotten run out, that would have been the fourth straight year they got knocked out in the first round. I think Roberts would have lost his job. But because they are the Dodgers, and this is a really good roster, they found a way to win. And if they eliminate the Padres, his job is safe. If they lose to the Padres, depending how they lose, if you lose 2-1 in the 12th inning, that's different than losing 9-0 at home. Job might be in jeopardy. But at the end of the day, he's managed them into first place, and they won the division again with the whole world on the disabled list. I mean, I was in a pub up here in upstate New York, and I was talking to Mets fans. I've been surrounded by Yankee and Met fans for the whole week. Just, I'm not going to say unbearable, but passionate. And they were asking me about the Dodgers and Roberts. I mean, these are fanatical people. And I just said, I'm going to give you these set of statistics that I had talked about on my podcast. They've used 38 pitchers, and they've had, 12 different starting pitchers, and they've had 19 pitchers on the disabled list and 7 season-ending injuries. And they have one guy. They have one guy on the rotation. It was their opening day, Yamamoto. And by the way, they're still in first place. And by the way, they're going to play in this final game in the divisional series. I said, that's pretty interesting stuff to understand how really good organizationally they are through all this adversity with all these pitching staffs. But that being said, it'll be fascinating if they don't move on, if they don't play in the NLCS, to see what happens. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed